The night was cold as we walked down Main Street. Middleton had gotten all decked out for the first night celebration, with bright lights strung everywhere. Cheerful sounds drifted down the avenue, as people milled about, waiting to ring in the new year of 2011. Many of the storefronts were open to the public, despite the late hour, with the sounds of live music drifting out their doors. Ironically, though, tonight was to be my last night in Middleton for a good long while. In a few days, I'd be driving to literally the other side of the country to start in my PhD program in ecology at a university in the Pacific Northwest. Hey, Mark, we're probably going to hit the restrooms, see one more band, and then head back to my parents' place for the countdown, my friend Adrienne indicated to me. Sounds good to me, I replied. She was the reason I was here. A couple of her friends and her had made plans to check out first night, and she'd invited me along. I was grateful I hadn't had any other invitations, and besides, with her neck-length blonde hair and brilliant green eyes, I'd had a low-level crush on Adrienne since I'd met her. I'd even asked her out at one point a few years ago, but she'd gracefully turned me down. In any case, she was also a blast to be around. I didn't know her friends well, but they seemed nice enough. Sarah and Rachel she'd known from high school, Samantha was a co-worker, and Jake was her cousin. I was the only person there she'd met at college, but then again, we'd discovered early on that we'd actually both grown up in Middleton and somehow never managed to meet each other before then. The girls ducked into the basement of the library, one of the many public buildings that was open for first night events, in this case a science outreach demonstration about reptiles led by a woman who seemed a little too enthusiastic for having a snake wrapped around her body. Not knowing what else to do, Jake and I lingered just outside the library door. Jake quickly became immersed in his phone, leaving me to take in the sights. I quickly noticed a small, white tent tucked away by the side of the library. Figuring I had a few minutes before the gang would reassemble, I meandered over to check it out. If nothing else, it looked warm, and I could certainly use a place to thaw my fingers and toes. Outside the tent stood a white wooden sandwich board sign, which read in red hand-painted lettering, "Fortunes told, futures revealed, pierce the veil of time. See what the coming years hold. Discover your destiny." Intrigued, I walked inside. Before me sat a woman of indeterminate age, her head covered in an embroidered shawl that was brilliantly colored red and gold. Pillows and tapestries of multicolored abstract patterns lined the tent walls, making the interior seem somehow larger than it appeared from outside. A warm light emanated from behind the woman, but I was unable to figure out its exact source. A small round table covered in a rich purple cloth stood in front of the woman, and beyond that, a padded metal folding chair, presumably for the fortune seeker, example, me. On the table rested an honest-to-God crystal ball. "So, come to have your future told, have you?" said the woman in a quiet voice that was almost a whisper. "You tell me, I guess," I said. "Very well. On what matter were you seeking guidance?" I thought for a moment. "Well, I'm about to start grad school, so I suppose it'd be useful to know where this going to take me. Where I'll end up at, I dunno, age 30 or so." I glanced around again, and continued, "Isn't this more of a Halloween thing than a New Year's thing? The new year marks a time of change, and as the boundary between the old year and the new weakens, so does the boundary between past and future," the woman replied, her voice rising ever so slightly. There was nothing ominous about her, and I never felt threatened or even creeped out, but even so, her words made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. "Now, gaze into the orb to reveal your future." Wondering how ridiculous this might become, I complied with her instructions, staring into the milky white crystal ball. At first I just saw my reflection, distorted by the curve of the glass, short, moderately disheveled brown hair, slightly hollow cheeks, the contrast of beard shadow against pale skin. But the light reflected by the crystal ball seemed to grow brighter and brighter. I had to shut my eyes, and suddenly it felt like the world was spinning around me until it stopped with a jolt. "Megan? Are you okay? You just jumped a little." I opened my eyes and took stock of my surroundings. I was on a couch in what appeared to be a well-lit living room. A large TV was on, playing an old black and white movie that I couldn't identify right away. The whole scene felt surreal. It was like I was in a dream where I was almost watching myself from the third person, but it seemed far more real and tangible than any dream I'd ever experienced. Off to my right there was another couch, directly facing the TV, on which sat an older couple, a man and woman who looked to be in their early 50s. I suddenly knew, in the way that you can know things in dreams without knowing how you know them, that they were my in-laws. I looked for the source of the question that had been voiced earlier, and realized I sitting between someone's legs, their pelvis and lower torso pressed into my lower back. I bent my head up to see the person behind me. She had very short brown hair, sky blue eyes, and was wearing a loose-fitting t-shirt over a pair of jeans. She gazed at me with a look of slight concern. "Megan," she repeated her question. Words came to my mouth. "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." My voice sounded lighter and higher pitched, and felt as if it was coming out of my throat and not my chest. "Good, we're almost to the countdown. Try not to fall asleep just yet." The woman, my wife, I now knew, smiled at me, and my heart melted. She wrapped her arms around me, and I delighted in feeling her hands resting on my breasts. Breasts, I had breasts. Of course I had breasts, a natural 36D, something I was quite proud of. I returned my attention to the TV screen. A man that I recognized as Grouch Marx appeared on the screen, scrambling around an opera house. Right, Lizzie's family always watched Marx Brothers movies on New Year's Eve. It was one of their traditions. Liz. That was my wife's name. Liz. We watched as Harpo and Chico ran amok in the orchestra pit, adding our own quiet commentary. 1 2 3 1 2 3. Oh my god, take me out to the ball game **, is * a waltz? Hey, why'd he say they'd be playing Verdi? This is the Ammil chorus, isn't that Bizet? Nope, that was Verdi. Oh, ha. As the guy successfully got the girl and Groucho was driven off in his repossessed sedan, Liz's mom switched to the live feed of the New Year's Eve countdown in Times Square, while her dad brought out some champagne flutes. Here you are, Lizzie. Liz's parents and I were the only ones ever permitted to call her Lizzie, in the same way that Liz and my brother were the only people allowed to call me Meg. I frequently teased her that she was just worried about losing her butch cred. Images of various performers earlier in the evening flashed on the screen. Wow, they exhumed the Backstreet Boys for this. I know. And they're legitimately middle-aged men at this point. Liz grinned at me. You know, you realize that means we'll be middle-aged women soon. I snickered. Says the 28-year-old. Hey, I'll be 29 in a few months. That's getting up there. Whatever you say, love. The countdown started to 2018, and we yelled along. At midnight, Liz and I kissed. Soon after midnight, her parents announced they were going to bed, and we followed suit. Fortunately, they'd offered us the guest bedroom, so we wouldn't have to worry about driving back to our apartment with all the drunk drivers on the road. We went upstairs to the bedroom, Liz's former childhood bedroom. Point of fact, they'd remodeled it and put in a queen-size bed and began to get ready for bed. Hey, Meg, you have pajamas for tomorrow, right? Yeah, I do. We normally sleep naked together. As such, I quickly discovered that Liz was more stunning in the nude than I had even imagined. Athletic, yet not without curves, with perfectly proportioned breasts and a poise that exuded raw strength. Good, otherwise watching the Rose Parade in the morning would be kind of awkward. You don't mind getting up to see it, do you? Oh, no, not at all. I walked into the attached bathroom and started to brush my teeth. For the first time this evening, I got a good look at my body in its entirety. My face was stunning, brown hair cascading down past my shoulders to my mid-back, clean eyebrows that had been shaped into a delicate arch, high, regal cheekbones rising above a soft jawline. My skin was soft, smooth, and clear. Estrogen has treated me very well, it seemed, and not just with my face.